People do not know me. My name is Major Rubaramira Ruranga, retired. I'm no longer fighting with guns, but I'm still fighting. Panelists, young people, and the media, for me, on reading this message, I got shocked. That after all these years, that there are people with backward minds to an extent of coming openly to insulting someone just for a disease. I got open so many years ago, I think in 90s, early 90s. And remember, as an army officer, it was not easy. But we would have expected, especially the media, which is the fourth estate, to understand this problem. Not to condemn anyone, because it's a disease. And it's not the only disease. There's leprosy. There's tuberculosis.
Even non-communicable.
Also many non-communicable diseases that are killing people. HIV is not funny, it's not unique. May I feel so sad, and I did not come here to condemn anyone, but I came to share an advice. Surely, are we trying to prevent the spread? And is this the way we do it? By condemning an individual who has decided to say, look, I have HIV. I look like the way I look. I may not be the only one. Some of you may. That you have not shown yourself does not mean you don't have it. If they brought a machine here, it's not us who will only be found with HIV. Some of you will be found with HIV. Condemnation is wrong. It's completely wrong, and I hope it does not happen again. I also want to tell my colleagues with HIV, because feeling stigmatized is a sense of loss of self-identity. This is not the time we lose self-identity. If there are fools out there who are going to abuse us, let them do. But we need to remain strong. We need to remain formidable, because we know HIV can be fought. Me, I have HIV. I also have diabetes. And I find diabetes more complicated than HIV. And surely, it's like people who wanted to beat a certain woman that she had committed adultery. And then Jesus said, let the one who has not done it throw the stone. You people, unless you are important, why should you expect not to be a candidate to HIV? Unless you don't go on a border where you can fall down, and the two of you, the blood of the infected goes into the one who is not infected. You don't have to have sex in order to be infected. You can be infected in many ways. But why this stigma? Why this condemnation? Madam from Uganda AIDS Commission. I have issues. I have issues. Why should people at this time still be so ignorant about what HIV is? After 35 years, people are still ignorant? Why have we kept HIV to individuals, individualizing the problem? And you make it a very big problem by thinking it's an individual thing. There is intrinsic behavior when we do things, and there is extrinsic behavior when we do things. The intrinsic is that you have the heart. You want to do something because of its goodness. The extrinsic is that you go there to do it because you want something there. Is that what is going on? We should take HIV to homesteads, to households. Counseling is done there in the house. Results are given. People learn from that house that you don't get HIV necessarily because you have gone with someone, you have had sex elsewhere, but you can get HIV. I'm telling you, there is no mother, there is no father who would hate, there is no brother who would hate the other brother because they have told them in the house that they are HIV reactive. All this problem is going on canon because people have individualized the problem. We must stop. And we need to go back to the community. We need to go back to the households. If we don't do this, then it is just an extrinsic drive that is putting us in this work. We are dealing with HIV for all these years and people have not changed. There's something wrong. And we need to fight this.
Thank you, Major.
So I'm so glad that you have called this meeting. I'm so glad about this activism. I want to tell Nafofano that we need to wake up. We need to be more active. This problem is more with us.
Yes, thank you.
And we are the ones to save other people. Please let's not have this again. Thank you.
Religious country. We have a motto that says, for the love of God and for the love of my country. And you would expect a country that has 98% of its people religious, there should be a way they behave. In terms of loving, in terms of being kind, in terms of being empathic. I don't know why we have a blame culture that is so more pronounced than a love culture. Tomorrow is Christmas, and the angel found people and said, do not be afraid. And all this stigma and shame and denial is caused because of fear, irrational fear of people living with HIV. People thinking that if you are positive, you are going to die so quickly. That's not correct. People thinking that if you are near someone, you'll contract. You know, I was reading the newspapers and people were asking me, but don't you think this young man has come out, but couldn't he have infected others? The question is, by keeping quiet, would that help non-transmission? I thought we should now be saying, thank God that now he's making people aware that there is a risk. So love, love, love. My second point is on what Major Ranga, our father in the fight against AIDS after Philly, has said. That is there where we can really move away from individualizing the problem to communitalizing the problem. Because that's where the problem is. Abstain if you can't be faithful, if you can't use condoms. So when Gideon says I'm positive, people say, oh, he didn't abstain, he was not faithful, he didn't use condoms. What type of religious leader is he? And he calls himself a professor and he's a canon. I think we need to move beyond that and help people to understand that HIV means human immunodeficiency virus. If Gideon or any other person who is HIV positive was a tree, then you would be surprised. How come that a tree has a human disease? But once they say this is a human virus, it attacks humans. Anyone with the fresh of blood, semen, vaginal fluids, breast milk is at risk. So let's destigmatize this thing and use the approach the religious leaders who are living with HIV has sponsored. And I don't know why, Madam Lydia Mungerera, you are here. I don't know why things are born here, they are used by other countries, and Uganda doesn't use them. The approach that is helping communities move beyond stigma was developed long ago. It's being implemented in Kenya, in Rwanda, in DRC. That you need two approaches to fight and end stigma. One is a fork that multiplies safe practices, access and adherence to treatment, voluntary, routine and stigma-sensitive counseling and testing, and empowering those who are living with or vulnerable to or impacted by HIV. The key word there is empowering, not condemning, not abusing, but you empower them. You give them the information, the skills, the services, and the love they need. The other angle is to reduce the stigma, the shame, the denial, the discrimination, the inaction and misaction. In Uganda, you media people, you are part of the solution to this fight. Ask every person who says, I am a policy maker, or I do budgets on AIDS, ask them, how much money are you allocating on fighting stigma, shame, denial, discrimination? What policy is it? Where are we? How do we compare how we are on stigma 20 years ago and 20 years now? A member of parliament, when they are looking for votes from you, ask them, may I know what you are going to do to reduce the stigma, the shame, the denial, the discrimination, the inaction and misaction around AIDS? If a religious leader is going to preach, ask them, what message are you going to preach around these issues of stigma, shame, denial, discrimination, inaction and misaction? We cannot continue being people who blame more, empathize less, and support rarely. We should be doing the reverse, that we should blame less, empathize deeper, and support better. Something like what the Diocese of Namirembe did for me. Really, why can't people learn from Namirembe Diocese that a man who is public and positive is helped, is empowered, is groomed, and he's to the level of being a canon, to the level of being a professor? You know, when others are being mistreated, I mean, you know, government can go to Namirembe and say, can we learn from you on how we can treat our people? Because every person living with HIV is very productive, is very important, is an asset, as long as they are empowered, supported, loved, and cared for. May God bless you.